Hello, degenerates, and welcome back to another Smash Stories vlog. This one's actually going to be another add-on to part two. I didn't think I'd be doing this one, but I've kind of realized in the timeline of things, I kind of glanced over something while I was doing it, and that would actually be like me, like seriously competing within Smash 4 when that was happening. So, I did kind of mention how I got more into the scene and then the more that I was playing it and all that stuff. But something that I kind of forgot to mention during that time was me like slowly transitioning out from being a player up until a certain point. So, we did end the story at Genesis 4. Um, However, like at that point, that was kind of when everything sort of changed, and that's when I transitioned more into being kind of just like more of a community figure, I would say, at least within the duck hunt community, not really at large. And I guess at my local region, I was in a way. So yeah, I actually did want to talk about my time being a competitor and then basically what eventually happened with me doing that. So, you know, I did compete after Genesis War and, pretty frequently, I would say. But there was definitely a shift in emphasis on what exactly I was focusing on and how I was going about it. And especially just like more at a local level, too. So when I was like competing, I'd be going to every weekly and I would even be going to like multiple week, at least like two or three each week, and then throwing fests in there too. And I was playing Smash quite a lot. Not to mention that we even had like a place on my college campus where everybody would just get together and play too. And the time that I spent online as well, playing with just people that Duck Hunt Discord and doing For Glory every now and then too, though that wasn't too common for me. Um, so I was somebody that liked playing and I did enjoy competing when I was doing it. However, there was a certain point where I just kind of took a step back from all of that, and I would say like the time that I really stopped like being as serious as a competitor was more of when I stopped playing at my weeklies. Basically, cool thing is like there's sort of a timestamp between everything that goes on. That's on my Smash GG page. But unfortunately, there's going to be some like glaring gaps too. Because at first, Smash GG was not used for my weekly, so I can't see exactly when I started and when I stopped. I basically have to go to an old archive page and try to find out which ones I was competing in and then what date I stopped. And unfortunately, it's like off the top of my head, that's just something that I really can't do. Like something that kind of sucked, which I felt like I had to choose one or the other, is when I got decided to go into commentary. It really felt like one of those things where it's like I would have to choose to compete or I'd have to choose to commentate, because like if I wanted to compete and I wanted to improve, well then I would be playing the entire time and I wouldn't necessarily be able to commentate. And it's like if I really did want to be somebody that was going to be consistently making it to like top 8 and all that stuff, then I would basically have to sacrifice myself commentating and practicing that and just like, helping train other people that want to do commentary as well. And, as I mentioned before, since like there wasn't really a large pool of good commentators that we had, like we had some that were like pretty decent and then like one or two that were really good. And then like one of them just wasn't really able to come out anymore due to certain circumstances. It was kind of like just me and then one other person like really holding it down for the most part, at least on a very consistent basis. Because like one of our uh, one of the people that was like managing commentators, like he had to drive out an hour, so it was a little bit harder for him to like come out there at a certain point. So pretty much like after a certain point, I kind of felt like there was more of a duty for me to just be there on commentating and help facilitate that and more community growth things, that I decided not to do competing as much. But, now that we're here, I might as well talk about just kind of my competitive history. So I want to say it was like 2015 is like when I was definitely going to weeklies then, and I can't remember exactly when, but like I was going every week at that point, and then through the Facebook group and through friends and all that stuff, that's when I started That's when I started finding out about other weeklies and doing that. For the most part, though, I would go like 0-2, 1-2, 2-2. Really nothing that special. The best performances I had were like going 4-2. So it's like, I think like one time I got like 13th or 9th. But that was about it. Except there were some smaller weeklies that I went to where it was like, I think it was like a 20-person event. And I think I got to like grand finals at one of them. But I'd have to like go back and check the bots for that. But there it's like, I just had to win like 4 sets, so it wasn't really as big of a deal, at least in my opinion. It was like we had the CFL Smackdowns, and like that was like really the big tournaments where we had like 100 plus people very consistently during this entire time. So it's like those were the ones that really mattered doing well at, and those are the ones that I considered to just like have like the highest prestige, as well as everybody else in our region too. So it's like, if you're doing good at those events, that means you were a good player within our region. And I never really felt like I got to a point where I would be considered like a legitimate threat from our region. I was like kind of like more in that realm where it's like if you didn't know how to fight duck hunt, you could have some issues. And then, some matchups I was pretty good at fighting too. But that was about it. I became way more known for my commentary and just having duck hunt knowledge in general, at least during this time period, I would say. So I didn't really travel much out to nationals at this point. I was just doing locals, I was doing regionals, and I'm lucky enough to be in an area where we did have like big giant events. So of course I mentioned Smash the Record. The first one I didn't really compete in. 2015 was the first one I really did. Um, and then CEO 2016 was another one where I went in there and I competed there. I just went like 1-2. But that was still like one of the most fun events ever. Like Street Fighter 5 there was a fantastic thing to spectate. Tekken was a lot of fun to spectate there. Then there was also some incredible matches, like Trella versus Jade was another really, really fun upset to watch live. I know that's the one. If you go back and watch the VODs of that, then you can see me in the front row for that. Not to mention that's where Prince Ramen beat Zero there. So that was really cool. So like that just got me even more engaged with like Smash and then the greater FGC community as well. But yeah, and I mean, overall, like I didn't really do too good at these regional events. I was going, again, just 0-2, 1-2, 2-2. However, there was one event that I really wanted to do well at. It was a regional called Come to Papa 2. And I remember like I was seriously grinding this entire time, like as much as I possibly could. But I do remember specifically leaning up to this tournament in particular. Like I was going like a little bit like extra serious with like how I was like learning matchups and everything and just like getting good as I possibly can. And that was kind of the last time I really did like a huge hard grind session for a tournament. And the cool thing about Kenta Papa was, and well, still is if the next time it comes back, is that they do believe in doing the round robin format. And if you aren't familiar, basically you have like a pool of opponents that you're going to be fighting, and you're guaranteed to fight all of them. And depending how well you do in those matches will determine where you get placed in bracket, or even if you advance to bracket. So if you're an O2er, you're like guaranteed to play like 4, 5, 6 people depending on the size of the tournament. And I think that's great. Like I think just having the exposure to just play a lot of people and not have to worry about like, oh man, if I lose here, then I paid like $2,000 just to like run out. Well, worst case scenario if you have to pay out of pocket for everything. I wouldn't say $2,000. I'd say like $500 is more realistic within like the U.S. Where it's like, yeah, no, you run into like situations like that where it's like, okay, no matter what, I'm going to play and I will be able to learn and enjoy myself here. So it's like for like the lower level players, it's a lot less stressful. The higher level players, it's a little bit more, since losing games can like alter your place there, and it's not just about you just winning in bracket there. So it's like I feel like there's events where round robins are good to have, and I feel like there's other ones where not as much. Like particularly Evo, I think one of the reasons why that format has, well, it's not like the best in the world. I do think a lot of prestige just comes from just like the way that the bracket is laid out to where it leads up at the very end. But like I think for like smaller regional events or just like ones that really try to emphasize like community over things, I do think like round robins is always going to be the best way to go in terms of just like getting the lower level players just kind of more engaged and just like more willing to learn and all that stuff. So with Come to Papa 2, there were, I think it was like I remember I had to play 5 sets in my pool, and I beat all of them except one who was like a PR player back in South Florida. And he was like a really good Sonic player too. And even with him, like I think I went like game 3 or something like that. Um, so like to me that was a big deal. Like that was the first time I was like, wow, I put in the effort and I saw my results pay off for that and all that stuff. And the funny thing about that tournament though was that for day 2, like I completely overslept in everything. So I did like a mad dash to make it to the tournament on time, and I was just not prepared to play at all. So unfortunately, it's like after that I just like went 0-2 once I was actually in bracket. But I also did lose to some good players too. But no, that was kind of funny. So there was still some time before Genesis 4 came around. So this happened in October 2016, and then Genesis 4 is obviously in January of 2017. So within that time, there was the next Smash the Record 2016. However, that one was different. That one did completely casual rule sets there. So it wasn't really a serious competition. So, I wasn't too hyped for that. And just overall, the atmosphere at Smash the Record 2016 wasn't as good. The location was terrible. It was basically just by itself in a giant like warehouse looking thing, and the hotel that we stayed at was like just kind of like this really run down like water park hotel, and it just wasn't nearly as nice as the old place, nor did it really have the places that you could just walk to. Like you had to drive to get to anywhere. It was kind of like not really in the middle of nowhere, but like walking wise it was in the middle of nowhere, and that just wasn't fun. But I had some good friends there, had a lot of fun, but it just wasn't Smash the Record 2015. And that's basically when the event just kind of crumpled down and died. But there were some cool things that happened there too. Then, like, after this is when I mostly started focusing on commentary. I feel like the Come to Papa transition was there. Because, like, I know I did commentary at Come to Papa too. Like I remember like there's this one where we had like this pup player fighting like our resident cloud main that was like on the PR. Forget the names. I know Ewok was the cloud main, but for the life of me I can't remember the name of the pup player. Puff was his main. He was like a Toon Link, and then Puff was his secondary. But that was a really fun set to commentate. But yeah, like Smash Bros. Record 2016, I remember I did some commentary there for just some really random matches. Then I started doing commentary more consistently at all the monthlies, so I focused on that more than actually competing. But like we did start doing like ladders in our monthly, so it's like I would participate in that. So it's like it was something I could do outside of commentary during that time. I got to commentate a couple of the MGV events, which were the Smash conferences. And those are all gone. And then basically at that point, then that led to Genesis 4, and that's where pretty much everything happened. So it's like Genesis 4, the cool thing was, like, they did have the 24-hour venue there, so I did get to practice a lot with that. But it's like, I think when I looked at it, I think I went like 1-2 there, so I didn't do all too great. But that didn't really matter, because the thing that mattered most was just meeting all the Japanese players there and connecting with them. So I'll talk about the rest of the tournaments that I entered in when I talk about it in the next thing, but I'll point out some things now. So between Genesis 4 and CEO Dreamland, because CEO Dreamland's going to be the main next thing I talk about, there's like 3 events. So there's Tampa Never Sleeps, the TGL Monthly, and then Frame Perfect Series 2, which was an MVG event. I didn't do too hot in those. Like Tampa Never Sleeps, I went like 2-2. The monthly, I think that was the one I went like. The monthlies I was going like 2-2, 0-2, 1-2 there as well. So it's like I wasn't playing as consistently there. But like the TGL monthlies, I was focusing more on doing commentary at that point too. So I'd mostly play to just like gather knowledge on the players and whatnot. And then, that way, if they happen to pop up again, I could talk about them a little bit better. And, there was just like a different pool of characters and players there too. So it was good to at least like get some friendlies in with them. Frame Perfect Series 2, I know I went 0-2 there, but like that whole event was a mess for so many different reasons, but there were a lot of good matches there. I remember like one of our local players there, he was able to take down Kome, so that was a really fun set to watch, but it was like one of the off-stream ones. So unfortunately, I don't know if there's any recordings of that, but legendary pop-off over there. And then CEO Dreamland, I didn't do too hot at. That was like 1-2. And then from there, the other events I competed in, CEO 2017, I did surprisingly pretty good there. Then I competed at Evo this year. then SmashCon, and then GTX. And then that basically, GTX was pretty much like my final real tournament that I competed at. Because like after that, I was basically just an attendee there, going to commentate, and at least going by my Smash GG page. Yeah, the GTX was the last one I actually competed at. Because I know at this point, like in 2017, I wasn't entering the weeklies, I wasn't entering the regionals. Regionals, I was only commentating. And if I did go to a large major, I was there to commentate only. Or not commentate, but just to like support the players there. Like the only places that I ever got to commentate were the local Florida ones, and then SCR, which I actually realized that's not on here because I didn't compete at SCR. That one I just commentated. So yeah, the reason why that I did stop competing was I just felt overall that doing commentary and doing the community work that I did was just a little bit more rewarding to do versus competing. So, you know, as I mentioned, I was doing like the donation drives. I was doing all the things with like the Duck Hunt Discord and just getting that more organized. We were doing things like the JMUs and all that stuff, but then we stopped that because they just weren't worth doing, and I still don't think they're worth doing. And then I didn't really focus on my YouTube channel because like my YouTube channel really did start with Smash Ultimate, so that wasn't really a thing yet. The main thing that I was more worried about doing was getting a Smash Club established at my college at the time. So I was putting like a lot of work and effort into that, which that started also in the year of 2017 as well. So I did have like a lot of things going on at the same time. I was also like trying to apply to like different internships too, and then I was even thinking of like changing my major at one point. So I was really busy during this whole time, and it was just like if I would play, it was mostly just for like friendlies, to learn more things about certain matchups with the character, and then, you know, just to keep myself like more mentally in check of like what it's like playing and all that stuff. And that's kind of what it was for me at that point. It was just something to do rather than something I was striving to be really good at. However, when Smash Ultimate did come out, I did want to compete a lot more than I ended up doing, just mostly to learn more about the mechanics of the game so I could talk it better, and then also just kind of learn a lot more about the characters too, and then just get kind of back into that competitive mindset of just like understanding what are the nerves that happen in this game versus compared to the other ones. But unfortunately, it was just like my schedule of what after that game release just never really lined up in a good way for me to like actively get out there and just compete very consistently. I'm lucky that I've been able to play like a pretty wide variety of people just because I've been able to like play over here and also like go over to Japan and play over there too. Even went to like Big House last year as well too. So, you know, I did get like a decent amount of experience with the game, but I do hope to like return back to competing once like the whole pandemic is over. It's just that in the meantime, I'm not going to compete in online. I've got zero interest in doing that. Just because it's like I'd rather not deal with the input delay and everything. And there's other games that I want to learn in the meantime too. So it's like I'm probably going to get more competitive with those than I am with Smash Ultimate, but I am definitely going to stick around with the game. So yeah, no, that was kind of a lengthy rant there, but that's pretty much my story. One hard year of grinding, and then after that, mostly friendlies and just working around things to build up the community. So I'll probably do more specific Smash stories for those individual things, so I can kind of go more in depth and detail with like how those things were. And I definitely want to cover my time with the college club I made, because I feel like that might be something really helpful for a lot of you guys, especially if you are interested in just community organization and event management and all that stuff. So with that said, what's been your competitive story so far? Are you guys serious grinders? Have you guys decided to take a little bit of a step back, especially since the pandemic's going on? Or are you like really trying to prove something out for yourselves? Like, what were your goals with this game? Actually, that's something I should have mentioned. Like, my goal with Smash 4, when that was a thing, was I did want to be the best Duck Hunt player in the world at a certain point. And then at a certain point, it's like, you know, once I switched to commentator, like I was kind of satisfied with the fact that like I figured out how to put in the effort to like make the results pay off. and then just like understand how to play the game on a deeper level, which was enough for me. It was like enough to understand what people are doing, and it's like I at least feel competent enough that I can fight somebody for long enough that I should be able to figure out what to do to take them down in the future. And that's really what I needed to get out of it. So, what do you guys want to need to get out of it? What do you plan to do with Smash Ultimate or even any other games that you decide to compete in? Are you guys more interested in doing other things in the community? Let me know down in the comments below. Also, once again, don't forget, we do now have fashionable carried by dinner face masks. So if you are interested in any of those, head down to the link below to check out any of the Teespring link to the store and get one for yourself. So with that said, that's going to do for this one. We are going to be doing the match critique stream today at 7 o'clock. And I am going to be working on that duck hunt guide as well. So look forward to that coming out sometime this week. So with that said, take care of yourselves until the next one.